Edward doesn't want to fuck. He's being a little bitch about it. Or I guess in this fantasy world, he's being a gentleman about it.
Yeah.
And we
Which,
get
like, in real life, we would just be like, dude, what's wrong with you?
yeah, and we get a little bit of foreshadowing with like a demon baby dream that Bella has, right?
Yeah, we get that quite a bit.
So we get the pregnancy foreshadowing. She's having dreams like she did in the second book, where she's like scared of getting old, but this time it's about like a demon child killing everyone she loves, like a vampire baby.
Yeah, so they get married.
And I wanted to talk about the wedding. Like we get the description, right? Chapter 3 is the big day, is what it's called,
Yeah.
and that's wedding day is what we always call it. Whatever. My question was: is the wedding fan service?
Oh, just like for the fans?
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
I mean, like, I assume this is like supposed to be like part of this girlish fantasy where, like, I don't know, because Stephenie Meyer spends a lot of time like describing the smells, like the floral scents and the decorations, and making it like this perfect thing that weddings are not.
yeah. I mean, let's be fair. It's a real fantasy, right? Most. I mean, maybe not. I mean, most young women will have some type of fantasy of the wedding, usually
Sure.
from a very young age, even, right? Like you start fantasizing about that, and what'll it be? What do you want? What kind of flowers, colors, all that, right? So there's
It
that,
doesn't
and
have the same pull as the romantic rush.
right, yeah, the romantic rush. Even though this is, and I guess I mean, this is the concluding book, right? So it's kind of like the
Yeah.
conclusion to the romantic rush is, well, you can't, you made the romantic love life between these two, married now. Kind of this, the agreement between two people, right? Blah blah blah. But yeah, so I was like, all right. As I was reading the wedding, I was a little bit bored because one, weddings don't interest me. I mean, I like weddings. I like going to weddings and like dancing and getting drunk and like all that and like clapping and being emotional when everybody's giving speeches and that's a fun time, right? And then my wife and I go and dance, blah blah blah. But like, it just wasn't like for me. Reading this whole chapter on the wedding was kind of a slog. Like, it was kind of like
It felt very long for me.
it was long, and that's why I was like fan service. And you can see this in the movie too, right? In Breaking Dawn Part One, they extend the wedding scene for like 20 minutes. Like it's like
It's so long.
very long, and it's
It's
not.
yeah, it
Yeah.
feels way too long.
Same writer wrote all 5 movies, Melissa Rosenberg. So we've been talking about that. So she, and I understand why she
Was
drew
it
it
the
out.
same director the whole time?
Same director for the last 2, but I think they had a different director every movie. But the
Okay.
last 2 were filmed together and all that, so it makes sense to have the same director.
Okay. But yeah, we have that wedding. It feels like kind of bullshit. His perfect face was almost severe with the depth of his emotion.
And at the wedding, at the wedding we get Jacob's blow up.
Oh, you didn't like the part where Edward holds out his hand and Charlie took my hand and, in a symbol as old as the world, placed it in Edward's.
What page is that?
49. Top of 49. In a symbol as old as the world. What clock are we running on?
Well, right, we're in the year 2022 of our Lord Jesus Christ. So 2,000 years since Christianity dominated the world. I would imagine
I
is what
saw
she means.
just how silly I'd been for fearing this. As if it were an unwanted birthday gift or an embarrassing exhibition like the prom.
Yeah.
So she's all pumped now to be married. And then, yeah, we get Jacob. He shows up.
And we goes into the next chapter. So we have like 2 chapters of wedding, and then reception is the following chapter. And that's when Jacob shows up. He'd been missing for a long time, blah, blah, blah. And then we have this little bit of like a blow up. Like, Jacob gets like mad at the same
he gets
things.
super mad.
At the
But
same
he
thing
gets
he's been
in
mad at.
particular. No. But like this is special because he gets mad that they're gonna try to fuck while she's human. Like that's specifically what he's bothered by. He's like, it's dangerous.
It's disgusting.
He'll break you.
Yeah. And then like Paige, like, so he shows up and it's like really like Bella's all happy because again she's trying to have her cake and eat it too, and eventually gets that. I mean, that's the ending of the story. But so Jacob's pissed at that, and then the thing I pointed out, page 65 was the one that stuck out to me in terms of them blowing up, and this is like Sophie said, him getting mad. What's the holdup, right? And then she says, I just didn't want to spend my honeymoon writhing in pain. He's like, you'd rather spend it how? Playing checkers? Haha. Very funny. Kidding, Bells, but honestly, I don't see the point. You can't have a real honeymoon with your vampire, so why go through the motions? Call a spade a spade. This isn't the first time you put this off. That's a good thing, though, he said, suddenly earnest. Don't be embarrassed about it. I'm not putting anything off, I snapped. And yes, I can have a real honeymoon. I can do anything I want. Butt out. He stopped our slow circling abruptly because they're dancing, listeners, remember. For a moment, I wondered if I'd finally noticed the music change, and I scrambled in my head for a way to patch up our little tiff before he said goodbye to me. We shouldn't part on this note, and then his eyes bulged wide with a strange kind of confused horror. What? He gasped. What did you say? About what? Jake, what's wrong? What do you mean, have a real honeymoon, while you're still human? Are you kidding? That's a sick joke, Bella.
His enormous hands gripped the tops of my arms, wrapping all the way around, fingers overlapping. Yeah, so...
So Jacob's all happy for her getting married, blah, blah, but not about them fucking.
But it was good that they were going to put it off because, you know, for as long as she's not a vampire, they won't be fucking. Is that what he was saying? It's a good thing.
This was my thing, right? And this is why I asked, like, so, like, Jacob blowing up at the wedding is like, I don't believe it. It's not enough. Just like everything else that happens in this series, there's really not enough.
Because now you're picturing Taylor Lautner, and there's nothing realistic about him having a fit of anger.
Yeah, and I just didn't. It seemed so out of place. And when you think about all that Jacob's been put through by like loving Bella kind of thing, and we've talked about this on all the episodes, that Jacob's written kind of with the most sympathy out of all of the characters in the love triangle. Meyer clearly gives him the most kind of sympathy for you to like be like,
yeah, I think he's maybe one of the best characters in the book.
Yeah, like the most well written and developed kind of character. But and you know, that's not saying much compared to everything else in this book, but still. My question here was, why does the wedding feel like the end of something? Because I did feel like it was like the end of something.
Of excitement?
Yeah, could be. Although, I'd say Jacob's section in here, like 250 pages in here, is the most exciting thing in all 4 novels.
It feels like the end of feeling excited about Ed and Bella's relationship.
Right.
That's what it felt like to me.
And it is the end of something, right? I guess it's the end of that, right?
It's like, well, it's happening. And it's like you're sort of, you know, moving very quickly toward, you know, what the predetermined ending is going to be, which we all know that she's like, you know, they've set a date for her to become a vampire. Right? So it's like Bella's getting everything she wants now. There aren't a whole lot of questions left on the table. There's not a lot of will they, won't they left on the table. Like, it feels like the end of having any questions about what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
because this is a romance novel and not like an exciting, this is how my dad found out that there were werewolves and I became a vampire and I had to like hide from my dad and slowly break it to him and like, I don't know, whatever the fuck else. But it was like supposed to be a romance novel and like you can only, I don't know, thrive on that vibe for so long, I guess.
Yeah.
Like once you hit the sort of happy ever after, it kind of.
Yeah. And the speeches at the wedding, dude, in the movie.
Oh, in the movie. I was like, oh my God, there are speeches. Oh my God, everyone's an asshole.
Yeah, and they weren't funny.
And oh my God, why'd you have the friend you hate speak at your wedding?
The wedding speeches, I was just like, oh my God.
It was just to add levity to what was otherwise like going to be a very, very boring movie.
Right.
Like I think they were just trying to add shit to make it less boring than it was.
And to draw out that runtime, yeah. I was just like, man, these speeches just, oh God. But anyway, whatever, you draw those out. It was like a little montage of speeches that really are dated and corny. And are, that's one thing I can't stand at weddings anyway. Like when I go, if people get up there and start making like dumb jokes or like quips or... it just drives me crazy when people do that. I don't know. It just gets under my skin. And I get people are nervous about making speeches or whatever in front of people, but
I'm not a wedding guy.
Don't lean on the easy humor to ease your anxiety about it, because it always just comes off a little inappropriate or a little like, I don't know. That's not even mentioning the fact, how many weddings I've seen where like whoever's supposed to be giving the speech is just hammered by that point, and it's, that's a different thing too, but